in Mumbai's Umar Khadi area. Entire booths would be captured by hired musclemen. 10,000 is being given to women in Bihar when 96.8 crore voters were eligible to vote. A total of 1.96 lakh polling booths were set up. India desperately needs an election commission of India that restores its credibility.
The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Namaskar, hello and welcome friends once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Are Indian elections free and fair? That's the debate that's been triggered by opposition leader Rahul Gandhi's fierce vote chori or vote theft attack on the Election Commission of India. Not surprisingly, in the hyper-polarized times in which we live, public opinion is sharply divided. Modi government supporters are accusing Rahul Gandhi of willfully spreading lies only to discredit a prized democratic institution of the country. Rahul Gandhi Congress loyalists argue that Rahul Gandhi is the only leader who's daring to raise the inconvenient questions of those in power. Lost in all this cacophony and noise around us is a non-partisan answer to that original question. Are Indian elections truly free and fair? Today on Straight Bat, I want to throw a proposition to you. I believe Indian elections are mostly free, but not necessarily fair. When Jawaharlal Nehru, yes, the much derided but truly staunchly idealistic Nehruji, our first Prime Minister, pushed for universal adult franchise soon after independence, there were many who dismissively referred to it as the biggest gamble in history, even warning that it could only lead to a further splintering of a nascent republic. 18 general elections later, my friends, Jawaharlal Nehru could well claim that his commitment to electoral democracy was not a gamble, but an investment in the future that has paid rich dividends. Let's first start with the facts because they speak for themselves. The first general election in 1952 was spread over almost 6 months because of the challenging climatic and logistical issue. A total of 1.96 lakh polling booths were set up, of which 27,527 were reserved for women. Around 17.32 crore people were eligible to vote and the turnout was around 45%. Now you can contrast that with the 2024 elections when 96.8 crore voters were eligible to vote across 10.5 lakh booths. 64.6 crore voters or 65.9% participated, of which 31.2 crores were women, the highest female participation in any election. These are staggering figures. To conduct an election at such scale relatively peacefully is a remarkable achievement which should be lauded. Do also flashback, my friends, to the period when entire booths would be captured by hired musclemen and when bogus voting was the norm, not an exception in some parts of the country. I was personally witness to a booth capture in 1990 during a Maharashtra Vidhan Sabha election in Mumbai's Umar Khadi area. The Muslim League was pitted against the Shiv Sena in an extremely communally surcharged election. We saw gangs on both sides overpowering the local constabulary, taking over booths, stamping ballot papers in their favor. This was, remember, a pre-EVM, pre-TV age. But our reportage and our photographs forced a repoll in Umar Khadi. Yes, there is still unusually high pre-poll violence in parts of West Bengal, for example, even now. And there were disturbing reports in 2024 of voter suppression abetted by local police in parts of Western UP, especially in Muslim-dominated areas. But truth be told, my friends, voters today are far more aware and empowered than ever before. I recall on one of my travels in Haryana, being told by a group of Dalit villagers how their grandparents could not vote in a previous era because the Jat Dabangs or the strongmen were spreading fear in the neighborhood. Amidst the changing caste dynamics and this constant 24/7 media glare, that is less likely to happen now. In a sense, voting day remains a celebration of an all too rare equality of citizen power in a grossly unequal society. It is the one day when a daily wage laborer in Jamnagar's oil refineries has the same voting rights as a Mukesh Ambani, when a slum dweller in Dharavi can walk into a polling booth with the swagger of a Gautam Adani. But while, my friends, Indian elections have become freer, they are much, much less fairer. And that's the nub of the issue. At the heart of electoral democracy is a belief in a level playing field. Every candidate and party who contests, and there are many more parties now than ever before, should begin from the same starting point. Instead, what we have is a totally skewed race where those who are in power now have a massive advantage over their rivals. This is the result of a deadly combination of unchecked money power and brazen misuse of state power. The money power always existed in our system. When the Congress dominated Indian politics for decades, its access to funds was far greater than the competition. Money, you could argue, is not decisive in an electoral battle. Otherwise, we'd have a parliament only full of billionaires. But money does provide a significant edge to the cash-rich parties. While big money often cuts across the political and geographical divides, you just have to go to some of the southern Indian states to know how much is spent on each election. The money goes into several scores of crores. The real game changer is just how state power has now been weaponized for total domination and a complete distortion of the idea of a level playing field. Let me repeat that. The real game changer, my friends, is just how state power has been weaponized for total domination and a complete distortion of the idea of a level playing field, or as I call it, LPF. How does that happen? Firstly, state agencies are now shamelessly misused to target the competition ahead of an election. Then be it central agencies like Enforcement Directorate or even the state police, there is now an unabashed targeting of political rivals. We saw that last year in the way Hemant Soren was picked up before the general elections. Then Arvind Kejriwal was arrested on the eve of the general elections. But it is not just the opposition leaders who face a fear of arrest from the ED, or what someone called the election department of the BJP. In the 2024 Delhi elections, for example, Aam Aadmi Party and Congress candidates suddenly found even their supporters being picked up and harassed on the eve of elections. Secondly, state power now translates into easy access to public finances, to the state's finances. Ahead of every election, it is now standard practice for every ruling party, any party in any state, be it BJP, Congress, or indeed the regional parties, to distribute taxpayers' money to key voting blocks in the guise of providing welfare benefits. A few years ago, Prime Minister Modi called for what I believe is a much needed debate on the so-called Revdi or freebie politics. Ironically, the Prime Minister's own party, the BJP, is now the lead player in playing the cash for votes game, be it with the Ladki Bahin scheme in Maharashtra or now the manner in which rupees 10,000 is being given to women in Bihar under a Mukhya Mantri Mahila Rojgar Yojana. As I said, this has spread across every party. As I also used to say, is hamam mein sab nange hain. Thirdly, state power, or whoever is in power, especially at the center and even in the states, is used to set and control the media narrative. You use your power to control the media narrative. The party in power uses government monies to fund the media juggernaut with a pre-election advertising blitz. This creates a situation where the opposition is often almost totally invisibilized, while the ruling party, whichever it is, across parties, monopolizes the public mind space almost in one direction. Which leaves us now with the Election Commission of India itself, the prime target at the moment of the opposition. The Election Commission under the Constitution and the Representation of People's Act is a body with enormous powers. It has simply, though, failed to use these powers to address the absence of a level playing field issue. And let me show you how. Ahead of the 2024 general elections, the Income Tax Department issues notices to the Congress party dating back to 1990s and even freezes their accounts. The Election Commission of India chooses not to act. During the elections, rabid communal dog whistles about Mangal Sutra went mostly unchecked. About Ghuspetias went mostly unchecked. About how your buffaloes will be seized went mostly unchecked. Paid news and untrammeled money power is also now an untreated cancer that has reached a near terminal stage, and the EC seems powerless to stop the flow of money during elections. And now, when reports come in of mysterious additions and deletions in electoral rolls, including the use of technology to infiltrate the EC's electoral roll system, the Election Commission of India's response is to kick off a special intensive revision exercise, that too in Bihar. And now, when reports of mysterious additions and deletions in electoral rolls surface, some of whom use now technology to try and enter the Election Commission's entire computerized systems, what is the ECI's response? It has been to kick off a special intensive revision exercise that in Bihar at least so far has been riddled with opacity and mismanagement. And even when an FIR is then filed for possible voter fraud, as in Karnataka, where a clear attempt was made to infiltrate the system using technology, using software, the ECI seems reluctant to join the police investigation. It is a fair question to ask. What stops the ECI from being part of a police investigation after there has been evidence of an attempted infiltration of the ECI's roles? My friends, a fair election in this country needs an Election Commission of India that acts and is seen to act with fairness. Sadly, the neutral umpire is now seen to be batting only for one side. As a postscript, Netflix has recently commissioned a biopic on India's first election commissioner, Sukumar Sen. Few may know of the mathematician turned civil servant, but Sen's legacy as a maker of modern Indian democracy is assured. He was tireless in that first election of 1952 to ensure that a nascent democracy struck firm roots in this country. As and when the film is released, I do hope that the entire present ECI will go and watch the film and then get inspired. India desperately needs an Election Commission of India that restores its credibility. And to do that, it will have to regain a critical part of the human anatomy. It's called, my friends, the spine. It needs a backbone, a reed ki haddi. Think about it. That was the straight bat. Do, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind, Namaskar, Happy Navratra.